Parenting is hard, yeah, but there's something that nobody can prepare you for, not even yourself if you don't know. And that is parenting a neurodivergent child when you're neurodivergent yourself. Something that I find comes up a lot when I'm talking with other parents is that we're not sure how to deal with our own neurodivergence and our overwhelm and our capacity problems when we are also holding space for our children. You know, it's not just the logistics of parenting or the quote unquote meltdowns. It's not the sensory overload. This is very much a different kind of intensity. And I think the hardest part of it is that it's often a mirror. It's seeing your child doing things that you yourself were once shamed for. It's very much seeing your child struggle with things that you did when you were younger that you were shamed for, and how that feeling lands in your body, and then how you try to transmute that energy into a better future for your own children. I'm not here to give you hacks today on how to cope with it or anything. I'm actually here to give you my mindset shifts that helped me move forward with all of this. Because what you're doing is reparenting yourself in real time whilst parenting your mini yous. And it's a lot. So let's take a look at it. This one I'm going to call the mirror effect. This one is going to show up in your life when you see your child freaking out, having a meltdown, and I don't say any of those things with derogatory meaning at all, okay? I too freak out and have meltdowns. But we see our children doing it over a texture of a food, the temperature of something, the tags that are in our clothes. You see them struggling with a transition, and all of a sudden, you're 10 again, and you're stuck in that scary situation again where you're not coping with that tag, with the loud noise. You're at a party, you're at your family's, it's too much, you want to get away and you just can't. And instead of that, you are told you're too dramatic, you're too sensitive, and you just need to buck your ideas up. And I want to let you in on a little secret. You're not dramatic, you're not too sensitive, you're neurodivergent, and there's nothing wrong with that. So as a parent, watching your kids struggle socially and viscerally, you know, can lead to an instant panic for parents, because if you're anything like me, you go, oh my goodness, I remember that feeling really, really well. Here it is. It's come up for me. How am I now going to not only lower my instant panic about it, but respond in a way that I wish I'd been responded to? And whilst you're doing that, there's this bit of guilt that tries to creep in. It's, what if I mess it up? What if I don't respond to them in an appropriate way, or what I think is an appropriate way? What if I ruin them more than I was ruined myself? What if they suffer like I did? Okay, so before you go off the deep end, here is a shift that changed everything for me in regards to this situation. Your children's struggles are not your failures, and your past is not their future. And most importantly, your insight is not a liability, it's actually a lifeline. It's an insight because you understand this experience in a way that many, many other people don't. So you know that overwhelming feeling right down deep in your guts, in your soul, which means you're in the perfect position to transmute it. You are not going to erase the challenges. That's not your job. Your job is to sit beside them and say, I know, I've been there. And to say to them that you see them, you believe them, and they're not broken. And just for a little hint, I have these sort of conversations with my kids all the time, particularly at the moment with my youngest, who is 14 and discovering that maybe the world isn't sunshine and roses because she's now a teen. And we've been, obviously, there's a lot in the news. And so I remember being 14 and discovering the news and feeling very, very worried about it all. So we sat last night and had a good chat, and I basically said, I can see why you're worried. I remember that feeling myself. I gave her hints for how to step away from it because obviously algorithms and media give us all sorts of things. And very beautifully, she actually reflected back at me and said, well, you're older now, so you've seen a lot more of these things. But for me, this is my first time, isn't it? And I said, yeah, that's exactly it. It's still unsettling. I'm still devastated about what's going on in the world. But I let her know that she's safe. We're safe. We're lucky to be safe. And we just sat and had a really good conversation because she knew that I saw her. I wasn't belittling what was going on. And we ended up both being irate at the government. So just remember that when you are changing your mindset shifts, you're not looking for perfect. We're just challenging what we were brought up on and we're trying to do better. That's all you can try and do. Let's talk about capacity and the paradox of capacity. So, as neurodivergent adults, and quite often as newly diagnosed neurodivergent adults or on the waiting list to be diagnosed, we are already managing executive dysfunction, sensory overload, burnout. We're dealing with the systems. If you're like me, you're perimenopausal as well, and that is just exacerbating everything. And on top of that, we are parenting our beautiful children who will need co-regulation, they're going to need structure, but they're also going to need flexibility and they're going to need advocacy. And sometimes you are both going to be dysregulated. There will be days when you need quiet and all they need is movement and noise. You will be out there masking your exhaustion and they're going to be on their third meltdown of a day because they just can't cope with what's going on either. And then somebody else's voice comes in to talk to you. It's usually somebody from the past, and they'll say to you, you should be coping better with this. Or so and so down the road copes better with this. Or people online do it better. Now you need to remember that once again, we're not looking for hacks. We're just looking for a mindset shift. So here's mine, and it's going to sound really freaking cliche. Guess what? You can't pour from an empty cup. I'm sorry, I know it's really, really overused, but you cannot pour from nothing. By acknowledging your boundaries and that you've hit them, you're not failing. What you're actually doing is modeling those boundaries to your children. For a long time, I thought that being the perfect parent meant that I was pushing myself through all of these boundaries, that I just had to keep going because that's what parents did, and somehow they survived and got on and raised happy kids. And then I realised that I was fooling myself, and a lot of people have been fooling themselves with this, and that actually our children can benefit a lot more from us being their parents who say, you know what? I'm a little bit worn out right now. I am done in. And mummy doesn't have the capacity right now to do all of that. Could we meet in the middle somewhere? So when I was continuing on, when I was pushing my boundaries, when I was going out, when I was tired, when I perhaps should have been sat on the sofa with a cup of tea, what I was teaching my children was to ignore their body, ignore their internal signals. And I was teaching them what it looked like to go into burnout without any of us even realizing until it happened. So now that I've got over that burnout, and I still go towards burnout because life is very, very busy. And we do forget to fill our cup. because we want the best for our children and we give our all to our children and our families. But the shift here for me is in how I have spoken to my children as they've grown. Now, this is age appropriate as they get up through the ages. So, my youngest has always had her older brother who is autistic, and there's always been a lot of stuff that has had to be explained in an age appropriate way to her for her to cope with what is going on, perhaps why she can't do something or why mummy can't come, daddy can't come, nanny's taking you, that sort of thing. But explaining that nanny's going to take you out bowling because Harley wants a quiet afternoon and mummy and daddy could really use just a bit of time to maybe catch up on the housework. You know, when she's a 6-year old, you say things like that, and they're like, oh, yeah, I don't want to do housework. Like, yeah, I'd rather go play bowling with Nanny. And obviously, Nanny just keeps up the charade, and Mummy and Daddy spend the afternoon watching a flipping movie or something because that's what they need. Big bro's getting his quiet time. Everybody's happy. It's changed again now that both of mine are older. Youngest is 14. She understands a lot more, and now we have the running joke in the family of I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. My brain is not functioning, and everybody's response to that is, well, pull your socks up. Because we just joke, because we know it's not that easy, right? It isn't that easy for anybody. But that's become our family joke to basically acknowledge that we understand where the other person's coming from. And so not only do the kids do it to me, I'm reflecting it back with them. And if they've had enough, we just step away. They go and chill out and do what they want to do. And if mummy needs to go, sometimes I will go and sit on my bed and read my book for a couple of hours because I just need no input in my brain. And yeah, because they're older, I can do bits and pieces like that now. Obviously, it changes, capacity changes with each of your kids as well. What I'm trying to say is all of these things teach emotional literacy. They teach self-awareness. And they also just prove that everybody is a human being and not a robot. How about we rewrite the narrative? Many of us, so many of us, were misunderstood growing up. We didn't get diagnosed. We were just, good girls, good boys, or naughty boys, naughty girls, behaviour this, behaviour that. Misdiagnosed, like I was. Yeah, there was a lot going on when we were younger, and we live in a time of more understanding now of just how differently our neurology works. And so when we were growing up, we were mocked for our interests, for our collections, for all the things that we were obsessed with. We were told to try harder, to be more normal, to be quieter, to speak up. You don't speak enough, to do this, to toughen up, to survive. There was a lot that we had to shield ourselves from growing up. We can shift it, and this is a big part of my work's mission, is that we want it to be better for our children. Why wouldn't we? So here's the shift. Your childhood is not their blueprint. You get to rewrite the story for your children and for yourself. You get to understand that your way of experiencing the world is valid, as is theirs. You can absolutely celebrate all their fabulous interests, and there's no more shrinking away from them, right? I have Shira and My Little Pony behind me. I'm 45. I don't care. I love them. All right, we get to meet meltdowns with compassion. We get to create a home where it's safe to stim, where it's safe to dance, where it's safe to sing, where it's safe to unmask. We get to create that for our kids and for ourselves. And I think most importantly, we get to say, this is how we want the world to be moving forwards. Is it going to be perfect? No, of course it's not. It's not going to be perfect. We can't control everything. So what we can do is make sure that home is the place that our kids know is safe, that they just get to be themselves, that if they need to loll around and do nothing, they can, if they want to sing and do silly walks and create fantastic words and, build a fort at the age of 14 under their table. There ain't nobody going to stop them because life is hard enough and we are going to find the glimmers in every day. I think a really important part of this to acknowledge is that every time you change something for your children, you're healing yourself as well. You are healing little you that didn't get to do it or was told to shut up or couldn't collect the things they liked. You get to do it. You get to do it with your kids and you get to watch them do it as well. And that's really, really freaking liberating. And something I wish I had earlier and I wish I'd been told about earlier, and that is surrounding yourself with people who get it, people who understand that you have capacity today, but maybe tomorrow you're not going to have it because you outdid yourself today. You are going to need other neurodivergent parents in your life because they can reflect this back to you. Not necessarily exactly the same, but to some extent, they are absolutely going to say, yeah, me too. And that has been a massive part in my own healing journey, is to be surrounded by other parents who get it, and carers and grandparents, everybody's included, right? Because we all bring wisdom to the table in some form or of another. And we also all just bring that internet hug of we see you and it's okay to be part of a community where people just nod along rather than judge you. And people go, oh, yeah, I remember when, because they did it too. And to just not have to over explain yourself is absolutely priceless. And that is what I'm hoping to create here on my little part of the internet, is that space where we can just be all of who we are because we're good people. We are out here trying to do our best. We're trying to make the world a better place for our children. And I quite often get labelled too optimistic. And, I'm not living in reality. No, I'm very much living in reality. And that's why I see what the problem is. And that's why I want to make it better. I'm not naive to what the government and everybody is playing at, but I will do my darndest every day to make this world better for my children and who knows, maybe grandchildren one day. So if you are one of us wonderful souls who perhaps doesn't fit in any type of box, it doesn't have to just be neurodivergent. It could be anything where you're not feeling safe and supported. You are most welcome here. So click the like button and pop a subscribe if you wouldn't mind. I'd love to create a wonderful little corner of the internet where all we do is share some love and some real life stuff that is going on, because it's really hard out here right now. It's always been hard, but we can make it softer by being together. But other than that, I would just like to say thank you very much for once again being here on my channel. I will see you next time. Take it easy. Bye.